What's going on, guys? So we have the KAZAK M100 here, and we're going to be basically doing a review on this system and some sharpening stones, some silver stones. We only have it in the low and medium grit, so we have from a 160, a 240, a 325, and a 650. So, which is good because I wouldn't want to use these types of stones over, like, say 1200 grit, to be honest. As far as these stones go, I've found that they are some of the best low grit, coarse grit, medium grit stones out there. They cut extremely fast. They have incredible concentration. You could probably get them up to 1200 grit. But the Silver Bond is similar to a metal bond. Now, I personally don't like metal bonds past a certain grit. I don't think they do as well as like hybrids or resin bonds, but for the low grits, they do amazing. They do really, really good work. So these are stones that I've been testing for a while, and I do really, really like them. So we're going to talk a little bit about them. So one thing I can say about the stones really quick is that I've noticed I can use them dry. Now, you can put lubrication, and sometimes it does help a little bit, but I've had zero issues with using them dry. They do say that you should probably use soapy water or a little bit of honing oil, but I'm telling you, I've used them dry many, many times, and they work just fine. They don't clog up or anything like that, which makes sense because it is more of a metallic bond. Now, they have some other type of bond in here that separates it from a pure metal bonded diamond. Now, metal bonded diamonds, if you guys watch the channel, you guys know all this, but a bonded stone that's with CBN or diamond is basically a bond of whatever kind, whether it's a resin, whether it's metals like aluminum and copper and zinc and stuff like that, melted down, and diamonds are mixed throughout, like a chocolate chip cookie, or like concrete with rocks inside of it, right? Inside the concrete is a ton of rocks. Inside of a cookie is a bunch of chocolate chip. Inside of a chocolate chip cookie is a bunch of chocolate chips. Same thing with this. The diamonds are mixed throughout the stone. So as you burn down the top layer, you only get into more and more diamonds. Now, you do have to condition them with a little conditioning stone, which is fine. You just takes a couple seconds, scrub it. It'll make sure it's flat, and it'll bring out the diamonds that wore down. Because, you know, over time, you're going to wear down the diamonds, and then the bond, whatever's holding the diamonds, will be on the surface. So you use the conditioning stone, which will knock down that bond and expose the diamonds. So as far as this system goes, awesome system. I really, really like it. I do have a top 10, my top 10 best, top 10 favorite sharpening system video that I'm going to be doing here pretty soon. This is definitely going to be on the list. It is expensive, but it is very, very high quality. And I do have another system that I think is a little bit more affordable that I'll be testing here very soon. You'll see a review on that. This one is a big system, which I really, really like this. I love that it has all these little features. We're going to go through these little features really quick because these are the features that separates, you know, the big dogs from the little dogs. So, one, we have this nice hook right here. That hook keeps my stone holder out of the way, right? I don't have to worry about it fumbling around and flopping around. Next thing, I can easily change my angle right here, and everything is changed with a needle. Let me move this so you can see it. So you see that needle right there? That needle, it's a very fine needle. It's very pokey. You want to be careful when you unbox this. But I can go all the way down. You can see it can change. And then you have a little guy right here. I have it locked in right now. But this little guy, you can loosen up, and it drops back and forth. So whenever I find my angle, which right now I have my angle, we'll talk about that. You just set that up to there, right to where this thing is, and then lock it in, and now it won't move. So now it's secure. Now, another thing I really like about this is the clamps for the blade come with these little rubber deals on there. So inside the clamps have these rubber deals, so you don't need to use the tape like I did on mine. I did that out of habit, but I use Captain tape, K-A-P-T-O-N, Captain tape. It works really well for things like this, for abrasives. It's a very abrasive resistant. But with these, you don't really need to do that. But I did it anyways. But so that's a really cool little feature. And I imagine that it's pretty easy to create these if you needed to. You could probably just get some little rubber, some thin rubber, and just cut a piece out and put a hole in it. And then, you know, let the driver that's right here go through that part that this, you know, screws right there. Just let that go through it. So this is an attachment for the clamps. So normally these clamps are on the outside, and I could not get them to do a small blade, right? Or even a medium. They would only do like large knives. With this feature right here, it does. Now I can put the clamps together and I can do big, small, medium, doesn't matter. So that's really cool. Now the next thing, this is pretty, it's interesting, right? So there's magnets on this. So this is held and done on magnets. So right here, that's how that locks in. So when I want to flip the knife, I go like that, and then it'll hit this magnet over here, and it'll clamp in, right? So you can set the tension right here where it makes it stronger or lighter as far as this spinning. But here's the thing. When you clamp your knife, you want to make sure the tip is facing the magnet, the magnet side, right? So I wouldn't put the tip facing that way, because if I do, and let's say I'm sharpening the tip over here, it could pop out of place. So in order to prevent that from happening, make sure the tip is always facing this guy right here. And as long as you're doing that, you'll never have to worry about it, because this pressure is right in the middle. So that's, it's a really easy way to flip your knife. So you don't have to loosen up anything. You don't have to unlock anything. It just automatically flips. And then it's always set to the side that you know, has the best leverage. All in all, you know, it's a big system. It's got a very heavy base. It is a heavy system, which is something I really like, because that means it's very solid and very secure. We have our angle set at 16 degrees right here. I did check it with a digital angle finder, and it was more around 15 degrees. Not a big deal. I'm not sure which one's 100% accurate. I'm not honestly worried about it. 16 degrees is just fine. The angle that comes on the knife is like a 22.5. This is the WE Knife Co. Inmate, my design, that we are going to be sharpening. And we're going to get into it. So let's talk about actually using this system. So the rod is really long. When I clamp the knife, and by the way, clamping the knife really quick, because I know some people get frustrated with this, and sometimes I forget that people have issues like this, right? The clamp, you want to basically try to make it as straight as possible, but if you have to angle it a little bit, that's fine. The biggest thing you don't want to do is you don't want to allow the tip to be very close to the clamp. That's what makes very narrow knives harder to do, especially if they're smaller, because the smaller and more narrow they are, the closer this is going to be to the tip. So that can pose an issue, because what will happen is you'll hit the clamp. And in those cases, you can't do low angles. You can only do high angles. So sometimes I know clamping can be a little irritating for some people, because, you know, of the blade shape that they're trying to clamp. Just do your best on clamping it. Try to make sure it's nice and straight. I know some people try to look at the angle, like to make sure this angle is going to be the exact same as that. You don't have to do that. It's not that big of a deal. There's going to be a fluctuation, and this angle right here will not be the exact same as right there. It's just the way it is, especially if you're using a digital, because there's thickness differences. So don't worry about that. Set whatever spot you want to, doesn't matter. Set that spot to the angle you want, and then just roll from there. If you have to adjust the blade a little bit in order to clamp it perfectly and not hit the clamps, so be it. Just do it that way. Whatever is the secure way to go, it'll work out. Now, we have a guard here. If you see this guard is really nice, because what it does, it prevents me, if I go up, from hitting the edge. See, because this thing hits instead of my finger into the edge. So I like that. It's basically a safety. But you also have these little rubber deals right here. Got one here and one here. This one is set so the stone doesn't fall off of my knife. So I can set it so if it was way back here, it would fall off, and then I could risk, you know, chipping my edge or whatever. So I set it to right where I need it to be. And the same thing goes for this way. I like to set it because you don't want to sometimes accidentally go up and then put scratches across the blade finish. So it definitely helps to do that. I think that's really everything. I mean, this thing, like I said, man, it works really well. It is a little unique in its own right, and that's something I do appreciate about it. It's not like all the other systems out there. Now, this little zip tie, I don't need this. I'm showing this because I see other people doing it and it works for them. This would be something that protects my scales. So say if I'm not really good at sharpening right now, and I'm a rush, maybe I do go past farther than I need to, well, then this can protect you. You can put a rubber band there, you can put a zip tie, but basically it'll stop the stone from hitting the edge of your knife or the scales on your knife. Now, it can also probably protect you from hitting your plunge grind too. This one, I don't have worry with that because I literally designed this so the plunge grind was really, really good. So you'll get tons of sharpenings out of this. Like you'll probably get 24 sharpenings before you hit the plunge grind. You're more likely to hit the scale than you are the plunge grind on this. But what I did was I just did a couple passes just to check my edge to see where my scratches are going. Okay, my scratches are going where I want. I want them to hit the top of the bevel, not the bottom of the bevel. If they're at the bottom of the bevel, that means my edge angle is too high. So I want to hit the top of the bevel and make sure the scratches are going downward. And I also, for my preference, I want them running at an angle. And the reason why is because when I strop, that's the same direction I go. So I want to sharpen the same direction I strop. So I strop this direction, so I want to sharpen this direction. That's one reason. Another reason is I cut this direction, right? So I want the teeth to go towards the thing I'm cutting. Now, factory edges have a scratch pattern that runs straight up and down, and that's not a problem. I just think it can be not problematic, but it might not lead to the best edge retention if you're crisscrossing your teeth, right? You don't want a saw blade or a serrated blade that is crisscross serrations, right? You want them to be uniform. You want them to follow the same direction. And in this case, I want them in the same direction when I strop so that my teeth from the strop or my strop's the grit that's on the compound that's on the strop, I want that to clean the serration. So that's the way I think of it. A strop is made for straightening out your teeth. Number 2, removing burr. And then 3, which is similar to removing the burr, cleaning in between your microscopic serrations. Your edge bevel is a serrated blade. It's just microscopic. So right now, we're almost done with this side already. I designed this knife to be very thin, so it's going to sharpen up very quickly. That's one beautiful thing about thin edges, is that they sharpen up very fast. We have not hit the apex yet, though, so we're still going. And you notice how I'm not using any lubrication. Now, I can, and it does work great with the lubrication. I don't want to tell people not to use it. You might like it better with the lubrication, but I found that I don't need it. But I do want to make sure I have paper towel. And I always recommend having a paper towel handy because then you can clean off your blade and make sure there's not diamond dust and stone dust laying on top of it and rubbing it in to the blade. Anytime I do a single spot, like say right here like this, I want to blend it all in. So now I'm going to do full passes. This goes for any system. And as you can see, this is going nice and fast. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. I have a very, very tiny burr. I'm going to come back to this side, but I want to flip it over. And we'll talk about some negatives here in 1 second. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. The rod moves very freely. I like how this thing rotates right there. I love how this goes up and this goes sideways. It has a very free-flowing movement to it, and I love that. The one thing that I'm just checking my my rods. Always check all your hardware every once in a while. It's been a little while. I've been testing this thing for a while, so it's good to just every once in a while check your parts and stuff so they don't, because I've definitely had this happen, not on this system, but on other systems where I didn't check them for a while, and I've learned my lesson because you'll be in the middle of sharpening, all of a sudden this will collapse and your hand can go right into the edge. So it's better safe than sorry. Now, anytime you are doing a fixed angle knife sharpening system, when you're sharpening, you have to make sure that you never allow the tip of the knife to go past the center line of the stone. So if you look at this center line right there, never let the tip go past that, because what will happen is if it does, the weight on this side will be heavier than this side and it will go over like that, rolling your tip of your knife. So what you do is you want to stop. Sometimes you want to stop early. Don't even allow it to hit the center. As soon as it passes the tip, as soon as this side of the stone passes the tip, you got it. Now, another cool thing is you can put a mirror right here and actually watch it. That works really well. I actually like that idea to do that. So you can put a mirror there. You can put your finger here. I like doing that too. So my finger is in a feel the second that stone hits the tip. And what you can do is, one trick I like to do is, as I'm pushing this way, I'm going to apply pressure on this side of the stone. So on this side of the stone, I'm basically put pressure, kind of like that. I'm being dramatic right now because I want you guys to know what I'm talking about. So as I'm going across, I'm going to kind of turn it like that. And what that's going to do is, when I get to here, as soon as this side of the stone goes over the tip, I know it hit, because I'm angling it that way. Now, I don't want to go far. Once it goes over the tip, that's it. Come back, because if you go too much farther, you can roll that tip. But if you stop at the right spot and you stop as soon as you hit your finger, you can actually feel it really hitting the tip of the knife, and it works extremely well. That way you can get a nice, good tip, because the tip and the heel of the blade and the tip are going to be typically the most difficult parts for anybody sharpening. Not always, but typically. And the reason why is because of the reasons I just said. Rounding your tip is one, and then two, this because of plunge grinds and stuff, and just being thicker and stuff. Luckily with this one, we don't have that issue, but we want to make sure all knives have the tip issue. So we want to make sure we don't roll our tip. We want to make sure once this side of the stone hits the tip, we come back. Never let it go past too far. And then, like I was saying, when going this way, how you can kind of put a little pressure this way as you're coming across right there. You can do the same thing in the heel, but in like this. So say if there's a spot in the heel that's not being hit, apply a tiny, tiny bit of pressure on the side of the stone. Now, I know this has nothing to do with the system. This is specifically just fixed angle, but these are all good techniques to know. So just put a little bit of an angle on there, not much. Remember that, not much. You're literally just applying more pressure on this side than this side. Like literally a half a pound, not much, because you're just focusing. It's basically going to make you focus. And then as soon as you do that a few times like that, blend it in. And blend it in without putting any pressure on either side, just nice and flat. That way you can blend in your scratches, you can blend in the bevel, and you're not going to remove too much material from one spot. Okay, so we have a burr from heel to tip. The tip is looking pretty good. I can see there's a little tiny spot that is not perfectly hit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on it for a couple more passes. We still have some coarse stones after this, so our stones will continue to cut all the way through. Every stone we're using today is going to be a cutting stone. And again, you see I didn't use any lubrication, and you see they look good still. They're not clogged. It's still cutting really well, and if I need to, I can condition it really quick. Now, we have that burr, so we're going to flip it over. And now I'm going to move from the 160, that's what we were using, to the 240. I'm going to clamp it in. The clamp and the spring is really nice. It's not like a super strong spring, but it feels like a very secure spring, and it makes it where it's real easy to clamp. It has these lips, so if you're going to get stones for this, you can get flat side stones where there's no lip right here, but it's better to get the lip if you can. If you can get this lip, it's better, but if you can't, and you don't have that luxury, it's okay. Now, another thing is you can technically size this. So you can unscrew this and you can size this and move this stuff if you needed to. It's set for 6 inches right now, but it's like, let's say if I had a 4-inch stone, or even like say a 1x8 or something, you could totally use it. Just depends on the stones you have, but the most common is going to be 1x6 with the lip. Now, I have a burr on this side, right? My burr's fairly large. I'm going to start at the tip, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a reverse pass down. And what I'm doing right there is I'm just moving the burr over to this other side. Because remember, we were working on this side, so the burr's folded over this way. So if I just go tearing into it, it's probably going to just rip my burr off, and that could potentially tear off some, especially with such an aggressive stone, it could potentially tear off some of the apex that I might want to preserve. Now, it's not going to be such a big deal with this low over grit because we have 2 more stones to go, but it's just something to be concerned about or to think about. Now, This system, being all metal construction, is what's going to make it last probably a lifetime. Another thing is it uses large hardware. I love all those things because having the large screw heads and stuff like that, that is so important. I've had some systems that use small ones and they're great, you know, when you get them, but once you get something bigger hardware, you're like, oh my goodness, I like this so much better because you don't have to worry about stripping out, which it will happen. Eventually, they're going to strip out. Now, I will say, and I know this is their competition, but I should mention it for anybody who has TS Prof parts. You can interchange some of the parts like the TS Prof's toolless clamps will fit on this. They will absolutely fit. So I'm just saying that that you can do that if you already have those types of supplies and you want, you know, a system that's going to work with both. It can. So we're already done with this side because, like I said, we already cut in our bevel. So now we're just changing our scratch pattern and going from a 160 to a 240 isn't even necessary. We could have jumped from this to the 600. But I want to show you guys all the stones. So we're going to go through it properly. This 240 is also a fast cutting stone. I will say this, the 160 is very fast cutting. I can feel the concentration inside these stones is very high. These are very high quality stones. I like them a lot. These are some of my favorite starting stones for 1x6 as far as bonded stones go. So we're already done there. Let's check that tip. I do have a little digital microscope we're going to test here in a second, a handheld one. I've never tried it yet, so we're going to be trying it for the first time. Not sure if it's going to go well or not. All right, now let's flip this over. Let's get rid of this stone. So now we're going to the 325. Again, we don't need to jump this low. This really, we only needed 2 of these stones. The one, I guess 3. You could say the 160, the 325, and the 650 would have been perfect. Okay, so the burr's right here. It's very aggressive. And so what we're going to do is, again, I'm going to put the stone on the tip, and I'm just going to very gently, no pressure, just the weight of the stone, do a couple stropping passes. And then we're going to start our sharpening. Now, I tell people this all the time. If there's one little tiny spot that's not getting hit, and this is especially for edges that are a little bit thicker, 20 degrees and up, if there's a little spot at the tip or the heel that's not getting hit, don't worry about it. Don't freak out about it. Just get it on the next sharpening, even if it's the next 2 or 3 sharpenings. Because you don't want to remove, say, 2 years worth of sharpening steel worth of your edge just to get a tiny little dot that's not going to affect anything in your performance. Yes, I know you see it. Yes, I know it drives you nuts, but you'll learn to accept it and be like, it's just the way it is. It's much more responsible to leave the steel there and get that little tiny spot later, as long as it's not going to hurt your performance, which a little spot like that will never do. You see how I knocked the burr back again? And you see how free-flowing this system is? It's very nice. It flows really good. This arm, I really like it. It feels very natural. I don't have any tight spots. Nothing's preventing me or frustrating me, and I like that. That's what I want in my fixed angle systems. I want a system that is like this, where it's easy to use and it flows with me. Like, I'm not hitting spots that piss me off and frustrate me. Because when you get frustrated when you're sharpening, that's the worst thing that can happen. I always tell people, if you start getting frustrated, just stop and start over later on, or tomorrow or the next day or something. You want to feel good when you're sharpening. So I found, and I've learned the hard way, man, you get frustrated, you don't get better. I mean, sometimes I found that I'll get better when I get frustrated, but only in a moment, but then I just continue to get frustrated. But it might make you calm down a little bit, but that's the whole thing. Before you get frustrated, relax, calm down. It's not a race. It's okay. It's okay if it takes you a little bit longer. And if you're sharpening a thick knife, expect to be there a long time, especially if you're doing a low angle. If this was 30 thousandths behind the edge and I was doing a 15-degree bevel, I'm going to be here for over an hour. It just is what it is. So know what you're sharpening and know if it's very thick. And I know a lot of people don't know, they don't understand thickness of the edge, and it might feel thin to you, but really it is thick. But just know that if you are doing a low angle, then it's going to take you a lot longer. A 15-degree bevel is going to take you much longer than a 20-degree bevel. It'll be way sharper, but it's not going to have as much toughness. So the higher the angle, the toughness, and the faster it'll go. The lower the angle, the sharper it'll be, but the longer it'll take. Now, one benefit to having a low edge angle is they are sharper, strop back easier, hone back easier, and the edge retention is actually longer. Now, the toughness is down, so specifically talking about cutting performance, the edge lasts longer. But if you're talking about impact or anything like that, it's not the case. Okay, so I think we are done with this one now. Now we are moving to the 650, which is our last stone. And again, this one, you know, this one I could probably condition really quick. So let's do that while we're sitting here. So I usually will condition with water. So I'll usually take just a little bit of soapy water, give it a little splish splash, and then I will set it down and I'll just rub it. Sometimes I'll hold it in my hand, but right now, you know, I got this rubber thing, so maybe do it like this in my hand. The smell of the stone can, if you don't like certain smells, it doesn't smell bad. It just smells like metal. So sometimes you might not want the wet part of the stone that's coming off to get in your skin, but it's not going to hurt you or anything. It just has a metallic scent to it. I don't know why I smelled it, so hopefully you guys didn't see that on camera. Let's go like this. That's nice. See how fast that was? If you do that every 6 or 7 sharpenings, that's how fast conditioning is. It's super fast. Now, if you wait a very long time and you don't do it, then yeah, you're going to be there for a minute, which is okay. You know, and if you use a silicon carbide powder, it'll go really fast. All right, let's strip our burr back. Now, this is where it's more essential that we flip our burr over. So I felt my burr on this side. I set my stone down and I just let the weight of the stone drag all the way down to the heel. I'll do it a couple times. And then I'll do a gentle forward pass. I'm basically trying to gently let the burr diminish and also fold over to the other side without just tearing it off. Because remember, if we tear it off here, this is our last stone. Being a toothy edge at 650, if we just tear off the burr and it just rips off, it could potentially tear some of the apex with it. We don't want that. We want it to be very, very fatigued before it pops off, which us flipping it back and forth and getting it out of the way without tearing it off is going to make it, it's going to ensure that. It's going to ensure that the burr stays as long as it can, flipping back and forth. But when it's ready to pop off, it'll just pop off. That way we don't have to force it. Same thing, I'm going to start at the tip, do a reverse pass, do a couple of them, very gentle, no pressure. And then I'm going to start my sharpening. Do my finishing, I guess. And we are just about done. Now we are going to take, and this, I can take this all the way to a mirror if I want, but there's no point to right now. We are good right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a burr removal. I typically like to do a burr removal with a finer stone. So we just ended at 650. I would typically remove my burr with a 3000. I'm going to do it with this stone just because we got it right here. It's not a problem, but I'm going to ensure that I am very gentle because this stone is the same grit that's on here. So technically I could change my bite if I'm not careful. So I'm going to do very gentle reverse passes. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Very gentle. Basically, I'm just fatiguing the burr back and forth, slowly diminishing it without adding pressure, without trying to change my scratch pattern. And now I'm going to do a very gentle forward pass on both sides. And I'm going to do it back and forth until it feels like there's no burr left. That feels fairly good. Now I'm going to take a strop. Soon, by the way, guys, I don't know when you're watching this. We might already have them on the site. I'm not sure. But we have the stone holders and sets of bonded stones that'll be on Neve Knife Co. If not, you can get them from USA Market. That's where you can find these. USA Market. Links are down in the description. And the system will also be linked at the top of the description. There we go. This is a 1/2 micron stroppy stuff, my favorite stropping compound. All the stroppy stuff is my favorite. This 1/2 micron I really, really like. Man, it's the best stropping compound, period. Stroppy stuff. It's the highest concentration, longest lasting, best cutting, and it's color coordinated. So you never have to wonder what micron am I using. Like this one I know is 0.5 because it's pink. Okay, we are good. I'm going to do just a couple more gentle passes just to ensure. We don't want to overstrop. We want to get this out of here so we don't mess up our spring. And now we can take our knife out. So, and then we're going to talk about the negatives on this system after we test the sharpness of our blade. Freehand sharpened this one yesterday, live. Ooh, she took a screamer. Now, let's take this cadet tape off. I also like how this stuff kind of peels off of the blade. It kind of comes off all at once. Typically, now that I say that, now it's going to be a little prick. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is, whoo! That is a damn screamer. I want to cuss right now because this is definitely FU sharp. Holy cow. Ooh. Ooh. This one I think even came out better than my one last night that I did live. Freehand, which is impressive. It might just be because of this grit. It's like 650 is such a good grit to stop at. My goodness, that's sharp. Let's test it out. Piece of paper. Ooh. Look at that. That is so... I could look for days. Look at that. Look at how thin those strips are. They're like little hairs. Yeah, I'd say that's damn sharp. Now, the toothiness of it looks beautiful. The edge bevel looks perfectly flat. This system's great. I already know that. One thing I'm not a fan of is that this did not come with it at first. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to sell it separately or how they're going to do that, but you got to make sure you get this attachment. All right, so when you get this, you've got to get this part. You have to. Because in order to do knives this size, which is just a full-size knife, this is a 3.6, 3.7 inch blade. So in order to hit it, you need these clamps tighter in. So make sure you get this part. I wish it came with it. Maybe they'll start selling it with it, but check, you know, the description for the links to test or check it. Just make sure if you get one of these, you do that. Like I said, I do have another one of their systems coming up for a full review. Next thing, the magnet thing. It's great. I love that it's so easy to flip back and forth, but there's two things. One, you have to make sure your blade's tip is towards this side, the side with the black nub, right? So make sure, because that means when you're sharpening, you're putting pressure down, it's not going anywhere. Because if I do it over here, it'll pop off. So that can be a little bit of a safety thing. Sometimes I kind of wish that there was like a switch just to lock it in place. But I know it's there. I haven't had an issue since the first time when it was an issue. The first time it was an issue, I didn't pay attention to it, and I learned, and then it's never been an issue. So it's not a big deal. But I'm just saying. Next thing. This rod right here has came loose on me a couple times. I have to tighten it in down here. It is bigger than this. I wish it was the same size as this, because then it'd be very easy to do with the tool they gave me. This is a little bit bigger, and it's just a bolt under the bottom holding this in. I kind of wish that had I don't know. I can Loctite it, so it's not that big of a deal. Like I can absolutely just Loctite it. But I don't know. I kind of wish that it fit into a groove and then screwed in, so it's less likely to start shifting or moving. Again, I can Loctite. Not that big of a deal. And I'm stretching here, guys. I'm looking for things, to be honest. I am definitely looking for things. Next thing, the price. It is expensive. This is not an affordable piece. However, I will say that you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for, man. Some of the systems that are the most expensive have been, like, if I have the choice and I have, you know, multiple sharpening systems, I don't use the one that's most expensive because it's most expensive. I use it because it is the best, right? So if you want the best, you're gonna have to pay for it, and that's just a fact of life. Now there's more affordable ones, so you can go that route too, and they're incredible. There's a lot of incredible systems, but when you're talking about the highest level of elite, you know, you're talking about the materials, the screws, the hardware, the fit, the way the tolerances are. All of those things play a part. I have lots of systems that over time get flexy and start moving, and screws come out. All these things. This thing is rock solid. It's a damn bank vault. And so I understand where the price comes from. Next thing, this needle, right? It's a needle. It's very, very fragile. I'm worried all the time. Like if I go to store this thing, I don't even want to take it apart. I want to just leave it because I know I'll probably break that damn needle off. It goes all the way through. So I suppose if it did break off, you could punch it out and just replace it with a different needle. So maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it'd be cool if it was like, I don't know, a thicker gauge and then just had a center part. So you could see, I don't know, something to where it's not just a fragile little needle. I've actually poked myself with it too. I don't really have a lot of negatives. This thing is really, really awesome. You know, it does, you know, setting the angle and then having to move this, you know, you kind of wish that you could just like lock this in somehow. Like say after you set it and then you just push something or clamp and it locks it in place. Not that big of a deal. Tiny nitpick. Positives though, really quick. Things that I absolutely love about it. I love the way this arm is flowing. I've been using the hell out of this. Most systems by now I've had to oil the crap out of. I'll have to oil, I'll have to take it out and clean the inside. I have not one time cleaned the inside of this. And it does have these little guys, so it's not going to be as easy as maybe some other ones where you just pull it out. You know, and maybe it is. So you just go like this and you can pull it out like that. And then you can clean it. We see how that needle right there. Now that needle is exposed, so you got to be careful right there. But you can see inside there, this has these plastic ridges, which make it where it's not like around it like a suction cup. It has these little ridges, so it has air. So it allows debris and stuff like that to move out of the way. I love that. That is such a cool concept, and damn it, does it work. It works great. Like I said, I haven't had to clean it. I haven't had to oil it. I haven't had to do anything. Maybe one day I might oil it just to do it, but it hasn't been a necessity. And yeah, just the way it moves up and down and left and right, all that is great. I like this hook, gets the thing out of the way. Now I can spin it back and forth. That was the first creak I've ever heard. You might need to oil this guy. Speaking about oiling, now all of a sudden it creaks. Oh, it's this rod. It's this. It's not this. It's this. Okay, not a big deal. All right. The weight, it's heavy. It feels solid. I love that. You know, I can work out with this thing. I like that because it means when I set it down, it can break stuff. Now, it means when I set it down, it's not going anywhere. Like I can sit here and I know I'm shaking the cameras and shaking everything else, but I'm not moving the knife that would be clamped in here, right? This thing is so solid. Like I could pick it up by this thing. The worst thing that's going to happen is that thing's going to come undone. It's rock solid. Now the feet and everything, you know, you do have to screw these in and everything. So, you know, just know that when you get it, you got to open it up. Here's the next part. And this is one of the coolest parts. It comes with a badass carrying case. I don't know if that's sold separate. I don't know if they gave that to me. Maybe they just sent that to me because they did send me the system. I don't know, but the case is badass. I love the case. If I didn't have the case, I would probably buy the case because you can easily store it. You can store parts. I don't even have to store just this. I can store other stuff in there. It's big enough that I can store this, some stones, strops, and basically just whatever I want, tools to maintain and whatever. Now, this is a little bit tall for it, so you do have to unscrew this guy and move this out of the way, but you can shove this whole thing in there and then just take this off and set it separately. You know, obviously with the rod separately and everything, but it's awesome. I like that a lot. All in all, it is a badass system. And again, you know, if you take this off, you can take these clamps and you can move them as wide as you want, all the way out to about, I would say probably about a 7-inch spread. You can get about a 7-inch spread out of it. So 7-inch spread is not bad. You know, that means you can clamp 15-inch knives. One little negative, just really quick, this isn't too big of a negative, but one thing you have to think about, so it's not really negative. One thing you have to think about. If you do a big knife, if you use a big knife, if the handle's too far this way and you go to flip it over, it's going to hit the table. If the clamp is, if you clamp the knife and the knife's a really big knife, then when you go to unlock, you go to flip it over to the other side, it can hit the table, right? It can hit the table, and if you guys can see that, let me see. So if it's a big knife and you go to flip it over, it'll hit the table. So in that instance, you kind of need to hang it over a ledge like this and then do it. Now it does hang over, luckily, meaning these hang over the base. So if I did need to do that, it's not a problem. I can easily do that, and now I can flip it over back and forth. I haven't had that been too big of an issue. When I did do something really big and I did get an issue, this is what I did. And I'm not telling you to do this. This is just what I did. I just leaned it and I went like that. So I'm just letting you know, the rod is very solid, so I don't really have a problem doing that. But it'd be cool if maybe there was a handle or something, or just some way to have clearance, because if you're going to have a 7-inch spread, then that means it needs to be able to do a 15, 16-inch knife, if not bigger, even like a 20. I don't know. I'm not sure how far this thing would go. I think it would cover pretty much anything under 20 inches, though, at least. Probably even bigger, man. It's hard to say. Because I'm talking about just the blade here. The blade being, you know, say 12 inches, you know, and then the handle being, you know, 5 inches or whatever, you know, you're going to get 18 to 20 inches probably out of this thing, you know, as far as the total length. But as far as the blade, you can easily probably get 12 to 15, I imagine. I haven't went that far with it, but it's a big system. So you're not really finding much bigger than these. The system's badass. As far as the stones, highly recommend the stones. These are some of the best cutting stones when it comes to low grit that you can get. They are the silvers from PDT, or you can get them from USA Market. That's where you're going to get them from, is USA Market. I might possibly carry them on my site as well. I am doing a mix bag with the best stones for the best grits, all mixed into one set, meaning the best stone for 650 grit is going to be in my set. The best stone for a 5,000 grit is going to be in the set that I'm selling. I'm basically picking and choosing the good stones from each type of stone, because there's so many different types of bonded stones, and I've gotten to test a lot of them, and I've just found that I like certain ones for certain grits. So I try to put together my own set. We'll see how they go. They'll be linked in the description under Neve Knife Co. I'm not sure if they'll be already there by the time you see this, because I do have them. So it just, you know, it takes a little time to get them up on the site. But KAZAK, man, definitely check them out. They're doing badass work. I definitely have a lot of great things to say about KAZAK. I mean, high quality stuff, absolutely. And I have another system to try. So shout out to them, because I love a company that puts so much attention to detail into sharpening and make sure that they're at the top, right? I'm not saying they're the best of the best of the best, but they damn sure are close. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Till next time. Peace.